All right, guys, welcome back to the Be Fit podcast. I'm your host, Connor Murphy. Hanging out here with my buddy, Jesse Setaro.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say that last name wrong.
Yeah, people say Setaro a lot. I got that growing up. It's Setaro.
I want to roll the R for some reason. Setaro.
Okay.
Have you ever
want to
seen,
make it like Spanish instead of Italian?
what's that movie? It's the best revenge story of all time, The Count of Monte Cristo,
Okay.
where he changed his name to Setara.
There you go.
I don't know why. I just like think about that. Have you ever seen that movie?
I've seen Zorro. Zorro is like the closest to...
Zorro. The Count of Monte Cristo
I've
is
heard of it,
the
obviously.
best revenge story of all time.
Black and white?
No.
Okay.
I mean, not that old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really honored to be here with Jesse. Jesse reached out to me maybe about a month ago, and as a fellow personal trainer, he's the owner of North End Fitness, owner and founder of North End Fitness, personal trainer. You know, super happy to meet up with him, and the route that he's going down now has some really, really interesting things, a world that I was kind of blind to for the most part. And not that maybe I was blind to it, but just something that I didn't have a focus on.
Yeah.
Which is why he started, which is called Project F. And it works with, the goal is essentially to bring health and wellness and maybe an alternate route to foster kids, to kids who are in the foster care program. And why it is so close to his heart is because that's the program that he was brought up in.
Foster care, yeah.
In foster care, or sorry, not Project F, but foster care was the world that he lived. And there are some staggering statistics. One that he just had in a little docu-series video that he posted. Just watched it. It's incredible. We'll post it in the link here so you guys can have access to see it. But one of the statistics was that 3% of kids that are in the foster program go to college. And there's some other statistics that are a little bit more dark, which I'm sure we can, we'll get into that stuff. But for someone to go into that and then have success, the need and want to give back to that was something that I thought was really, really cool, and why I wanted to continue to get involved and support him in any way we can. But without telling his story too much, welcome Jesse to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Yeah, so piggybacking off of one thing you just said, not only is it only 3% of foster kids ever go to college, it's only 51% even graduate with a high school diploma. So, I mean, we're looking at, that's a good thing to go to college, but something that so many people just consider basic necessity for success. I mean, that's even a hard thing for most foster kids to get in and of itself. And that doesn't even touch on, there's other staggering statistics, like in our state alone, in Massachusetts, 35% of foster kids will become homeless immediately the day they turn 18. I mean, foster kids, essentially, they go from home to home. The average foster kid will live in over 14 different homes in their lifetime, never finding a home for a lot of kids that's safe and consistent and loving. I mean, I know that was my experience in the foster care system. It's a childhood full of trauma. You don't get removed from your home unless there's been abuse or neglect. And they say that, and this is a statistic you can look up as well. I know you're a military guy, but something that should stagger you is they say that children coming out of the foster care system experience PTSD at twice the rate of combat veterans.
I believe it.
Yeah. It's just the deck is stacked against them, a lot against these kids. And like you said, you know that they're out there, you know that there's orphans in society, and you know there's kids growing up in foster care and group homes, but it's very rare you actually cross paths with one that hasn't ended up in a really dark place. And that's one of the reasons why I want to do what I want to do, because I've been very blessed, despite everything that I come from, to end up where I have. And much like you, I owe a lot of that to fitness. So
yeah, and I want to get into that. I want to get into the fitness side of things. I want to get into Project F and what you plan on doing. But before that, I could walk by North End Fitness and I could see you, and I could see, the clients that you have. I could see the incredible gym. I could hear the reputation that you have. And I could think, oh, this guy had it figured out. This guy must have had a great upbringing. You can always make those assumptions. However, that wasn't the case. But what, you're an anomaly.
Yes, sir.
You're an anomaly of the of foster care. What was the driving force? What was the impetus behind you not becoming that statistic?
So I've been asked that question a lot growing up my entire life. And I think I was really, I was blessed. So and when I say that, I mean, even just being born the way I was, I always tested high IQ. I always was really intelligent and really resilient. And like, I have a sister who was born with fetal alcohol syndrome because my mother drank during her pregnancy. Like, when I look at, even just those fundamental elements like the way I was born. Like I didn't have any control over that. So I give a lot of credit to God for that, right? But more than that, I think that, you know, I was very blessed because I had a mentor that came into my life when I was around 11 or 12 years old and played that role of like a big brother, a mentor to me, kind of like I want to do for these kids. And that really changed the trajectory of my life. And, you know, I remember growing up in the hometown that I grew up in, and I grew up in the outskirts of New Haven, Connecticut. And I just remember, you know, there was the good side of town, then there was the other side of the tracks, which is where I was growing up in. And I just remember even like taking bus rides through the nice part of, you know, the school bus in the morning and seeing like families with 2-3-story homes, nuclear family, mom and dad, golden retriever. And the way I grew up was just so other than that. And, you know, my mentor, luckily, his name's Josh Brooks. He came in my life around, like I said, 11 or 12, and he had that, but he was also adopted. So I think the major difference that, you know, I had clinicians and I had teachers and I had a whole bunch of people in my life growing up. But I think the major difference is that the mentor that I was lucky enough to find at that age had also been through what I had been through. And that was a game changer for me, and something that is one of the reasons why I now want to go and do essentially what my mentor did for me. And that's help show these kids there is, you know, more to life than what they've experienced. And it's not all trauma, not all bad. And you can still come from these broken homes and these broken situations and still make something really great of your life.
Yeah, that was something that I noticed in the video that Josh was talking about. By the way, when we mentioned it when we were eating at Monument,
yeah,
that name will always be in my head. I just remember you saying Josh Brooks, and
yes,
then I kind of like created an image of him in my head that was very different than what he actually looked like. But
Josh is a character, man.
But when I saw that video and some of the things that he referenced, and kind of 2 points here, one is that he was a success story, but he wasn't someone who, you know, he went through the same thing, and that speaks volumes. And whether it's true or whether it's not true, you see two people at the same success level. One person went through foster care, one person didn't. This person has more credibility to you. And they show you, hey, I was there and I can get here, rather than your road might look a little bit different and you can still get here, which may be true. But just having that as a trusted source and having that, that weighs a lot more.
Yeah.
And
think about it in terms of like fitness, right? Like there's a lot of people that get into our industry just because, you know, they're genetically gifted, and you see it all the time. People that have always been there, and they say, oh, what do you do for a workout? You look so good. And the next thing you know, they get their certification and they're a certified personal trainer. Now they're taking on clients. I have always been of the mindset where I want to see the person that didn't have it together. I want to see the person like the person you had on your podcast a few weeks ago that lost 100 pounds. I want to pick their brain. I want to figure out how they went from where they are to where they are now. Those people have always been those underdog stories, those people that have been through adversity and made it out of the darkness into the bright side. Those are the people that I've always been drawn towards and motivated and inspired by. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And then another thing that was interesting to me, and maybe this is something I don't think about because I don't know. I don't have any experience in what you and how you grew up. But what I can relate to is Josh was saying it's more than just being like, hey, you know, there's this program that can help you, or I'm here to support, or, you know, I can get you a therapist, or I can do all of this stuff. But he was like, people don't understand the weight of picking someone up, taking them bowling.
Yeah.
Showing them that they can smile and have fun.
100%.
Even if it's not this in-depth conversation about life and the decisions that you're making, but someone to invest enough into you just to have a good time, and how important that is. And that was where I kind of took the step back and thinking about what your goals are, and how other people can have an influence in it, whether I'm from that or not, but just to be like, hey, here's someone who cares about me enough to have some fun.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't need to be like, oh, I care about you, and now we're going to talk about your feelings for an hour.
Yeah. And you know, that's the thing that I think a lot of foster kids are missing, and kids that are growing up in the system is they spend so much time in clinicians, in meetings, with therapists and with teachers and, you know, group home workers. And what they don't get is they don't get to experience the things a child is supposed to, which is carelessness, which is having fun, which is getting out into the real world and getting to just be a kid. Like most kids, you take that for granted growing up, and these kids, a lot of them don't have that opportunity, and it's really heartbreaking to me. And to be honest with you, I mean, the things that we take advantage, like vacations and, you know, going out with your dad growing up as a kid and, you know, maybe playing catch, or a lot of these kids will never experience those kind of things. And that's one of the things that I really want to focus on. And what Project F is going to be a gym-based program. And we're going to talk all about that and the value of fitness and teaching kids hard work, dedication, discipline, consistency, all the things that fitness teaches and helps mold a person into. I think that's invaluable, and that's, you know, it's gonna be a gym-based program, but it's also gonna be, hey, let's go catch the Red Sox game tonight. It's also gonna be, hey, let's go bowling, like you just said. It's gonna be so much more than just a mentoring program like I don't know, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And it's going to be so much more than just a gym. It's going to be a merging of those two worlds together. And absolutely, I would love to get you involved. Just, you know, people that have the heart, that grew up maybe a little bit better than I did, to say, like you said, you were just unaware that there's people in our own community that are going through this, kids, due to no fault of their own. Just getting people involved that want to help these kids is 100% something that I want and I'm looking for once this gets going.
Yeah, and I think that's incredible. And I think what a lot of people can relate to in us talking is, sure, like, fitness is great. And sure, like, there's, you know, all of the positive things that can happen from it as far as, you know, this wave of chronic disease that we're seeing.
Oh yeah.
But there's so much more to it. And what people can relate to is, I didn't grow up the same way, but fitness had a similar impact on you as it did to me.
Yeah.
You know, what I went through was way different.
Tell me about your journey a bit, because I've gotten to listen to your podcast, but I've never got to actually have a conversation with you about it. So.
I mean, I grew up, my parents dated in high school.
Because we're both 33.
They say, yeah.
And we grew up very differently, but both ended up in the same world. So I'm always curious to pick other people's brains.
Again, not as much. You know, there's probably some like smaller stories involved in it, but, you know, went to high school in a.
You're an athlete, right?
Yeah, I mean, quotations on it. You know, I played like football, baseball, and basketball, but I wasn't going to go.
You weren't Craig Kenny.
Yeah.
You weren't breaking all of your high school records, passing, kicking, rushing, all that stuff.
He probably still can like beat every record from every. That guy's an absolute animal. So
absolutely. Shout out to Craig Kenny. We went to the same high school together.
We have a mutual friend, Craig, who now runs CrossFit Brantford, down in Brantford, Connecticut, as well as CrossFit Madison. It's a new affiliate in Madison, Connecticut. Yeah,
he's doing big things.
He's a beauty.
Yeah. He's a good guy. We never really got to, he was a grade above me. We never really got to build a relationship, but, you know, we played on the same football team and all that stuff and have the same coaches and we're from a small shoreline town. So when he was just being himself, he was really well known. And it's one of those kids that you look up to as like the all-star jock when you're an underclassman. So it's funny that, you know, we're a world apart over here in a big city and we're both, you know, the same people like that.
So I enlisted in the Navy. That was kind of all I really wanted to do.
Josh was in the Navy, by the way.
I don't know if Brooks was?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was a Navy man. Yes, sir.
And I ended up, you know, I'd spent however many years in, ended up suffering an injury that kept me from doing the job that I wanted to do. And even after it kind of being promised, after I had a surgery and that everything was going to be good and I'd be cleared for this, it just didn't end up working that way. And
what was the job? Can I ask?
Just in special operations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I was kind of lost after that. And I was doing a lot of CrossFit to regain functionality of my elbows. And it was like, hey, I'm like, you know, I'm utilizing this to get back to the job that I wanted to do. And then when I wasn't, you know, cleared, it was, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was lost. And the only thing that I had was this tool that I was using to get back to where I was, not realizing that could actually be something where I could, you know, find a new career path in. I ended up taking the CrossFit Level 1 certificate course. It was like, hey, I really like this. Maybe people want to, you know, listen to my journey of like regaining functionality and kind of demystify some of the things that people thought they knew about CrossFit but really didn't understand.
Yeah. And
from there, you know, after a while of feeling sorry for myself or feeling like the world owed me something, and then you very quickly realize that, you know, that it doesn't.
Yeah.
I just started coaching and I started training more, and I just used that. That became now my base. Whether I was doing the right things or the wrong things outside of fitness, that was always the base that I could come back to, and then it transformed my world, saved my life in many different ways. And now I have the ability to give that back to anyone and everyone. It's not just, oh, I'm at the point now where I train, athletes, or I only train this. It's like anyone who wants to listen, anyone who's like, hey, I want to improve the quality of my life through fitness.
Yeah.
I can hopefully help them out. Let
me ask you this question. So there's people in our industry like Stacia Patwell. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's a trainer. She's actually from Boston. She moved out to California, and she became a spin cycle instructor, and struggled with drugs and alcohol and things. No, I think it was mainly alcohol. She struggled with alcohol. And she really leaned into comedy and was always funny and had friends in the comedic world. And then during the pandemic, she ended up starting like a Zoom thing, and it took off, and she ended up having a few clients that were like pretty famous female celebrities that shouted her out on things like Joe Rogan, and she just was on Bert Kreischer, and now she's got this thriving business, kind of not overnight because she put her dues in, but something she talks about is like imposter syndrome, and how, like same thing with me. Like I remember when I started doing really well in this industry, like because of the way that I grew up, I never thought that I would make as much money, do as well as I've done, have as much connections with people, and kind of like, and I admire you and look up to your career, and like you said, this was never the thing that you thought you were going to make your living out of, and now here we are at Big Night Life, and you've trained all these, we're at Big Night, and you've trained all these celebrities, and like, just the life that you've built is, I look up to, people look up to me, I look up to you, man.
I will say, and I think I was just talking about this yesterday, I still 100%, I don't know if suffering from that is something, but like joke about it, but it's a real thing, the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I always feel like, and especially when I get these really unique opportunities, that someone is going to come up and be like, oh, no, I actually know this guy, and he doesn't get any of this, and they're going to take it away from me, and then I'm going to be like, all right, well, it was fun while it lasted. Yeah. Like I truly have this this feeling where I'll get like a message from someone that has a really cool opportunity, and I'm like, why?
Why me?
Why is like, this is super unique, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, there's just going to be that like that someone who comes out and they're like, hey guys, this isn't this isn't who you think it is.
This is some military guy. He's not an elite trainer or something like that. You know what I mean?
Even like, that, even like with like the military stuff, there were guys that did, years and 1,000, some of my best friends that are some of the most decorated, just unbelievable sailors, soldiers, and they're not getting some of the similar opportunities that I'm getting. I'm like, why? Like, I didn't, I wasn't anything special in here.
Yeah.
Like, sure, I found out that I could get my ass kicked really well.
Yeah.
It's going to be very difficult for you to make me quit anything. Like that's kind of what I learned. But yeah, I absolutely feel that. And I could imagine, especially coming from an area that with the foster care program, where you're like, I mean, you have similar feelings about that?
I do. I think fitness is a really interesting thing. And you could speak. That's why I'm so excited to be here, by the way, just because it's so cool to sit down with another successful personal trainer and just like chop it up. Because I'm always the trainer in the room. So it's really cool to have another person in here like this. But I think the cool thing about our industry is that as cool as bicep curls and pull-ups and stuff are, right? It's the people. And we offer motivation, we offer accountability, we offer programming, education. And, even though we probably deal with different populations of people or clientele, what everybody needs is they need connection. And I think that personal training is something that, for your clientele, there's people that are used to just having a team and a support around them that, kind of help them. And I think for me, being able to be that person has kind of made me feel important and made me feel valuable. And I don't know, we really stumbled into a really amazing thing with fitness and being trainers. And sometimes I worry about the same thing too. I'm like, I worry that sometimes I'm going to get it taken away from me, or that I don't deserve to wake up, in my dream, neighborhood and go work my dream job with my dog and listen to my favorite music and charge what I charge. And it's just like, coming from where I come from, I never thought I'd make it out of my hometown, let alone go to college, open a small business, create a community, and, just travel the world and, live a good life off of something that I genuinely enjoy, just like you. And so I don't know, I was just curious to pick your brain about that. Cause you've gone to a level, it's even higher. I own a small business and stuff, but I've never worked with the names and the things and done the things that you have. And I'm like, wow, that's so impressive.
I mean, that's a big chance thing too.
Yeah, and we look up to people too. I'm sure you look up to people like Eric Cressy and all those guys. It's like there's always people that there's always people we're always gonna be looking up to, just like athletes or other entrepreneurs. You know.
Yeah, I mean, always something you can learn from everyone. Always something you learn from your clients. Always something you learn from other trainers.
Who do you look up most to in this industry?
In the training industry?
Yeah.
I get a chance to work with a guy. His name's Chris Hinshaw.
Okay.
And he does a lot of programming. He came from an endurance background and then started incorporating that into CrossFit and kind of filling a void that wasn't quite as significant in CrossFit training. And I just that he thinks in a different way about how to train. You know, from like a powerlifting side of things, I've gotten to work with, this is all like through Reebok, not like I like get to call these guys up and stuff, but Mark Bell and Jesse Burdick.
Yeah, I know Mark. And I don't know him personally, but I know of him.
And like through my job at Reebok, so through just coaching at Reebok, I got a chance to meet these guys, and you get this.
Mark Bell's like Slingshot Mark Bell.
Yeah. And he, I mean, just an incredible human. And you know, you look at the path
I listen to his podcast too. He's good.
You know, the path that they went down as well to get to where they are. Like everyone's like, oh, you know, shit must be pretty sweet over there and, you know, in California. And it's like everyone has their own journey. Everyone has the struggles that they get through. And, you know, for Mark Bell, when he created the slingshot, and now what he had, you know, he's got his hip circles and knee sleeves, and he has all of these different things.
I found about him through a Bigger, Faster, Stronger. Do you remember that documentary? Yeah.
For sure. So those are a couple of, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that I'm missing here. Really, really good friend of mine. His name's James Hobart.
Okay.
He's in the CrossFit world, and he'll never lead anyone to believe exactly how smart he is. Like everyone will be like, oh man, that guy's smart. And you're like, he's got, he's got
more in there than
yeah. And it's I think I learn a lot of humility from him. I'm not quite batting 1,000 on that. You know,
you seem like a really
humble,
great person though.
Well, it comes a lot from learning from guys like James, people like Austin and Denise, who I got a chance to work with at Reebok, a lot in like the CrossFit space and that. But I mean, everyone, the clients that I have, a guy who came on here, Dan DeStefano, everyone calls him Pickles.
Yeah, I was listening to that podcast.
Yeah, he does. It's very different from what I'm doing with like the with Barry's boot camp, but he's also training CrossFit. But he's just like his care and networking for other people. You know, I got to learn a ton from people. Like it's just anyone who I get a chance to listen to, and it's like you can kind of choose some of the things. Like, hey, I really respect that in that person. I want to emulate that. I want to be more like that.
Yeah. Do you know who made me want to become a personal trainer?
Who?
Do you remember Elliot Hulse? Yo, Elliot? He was like one of the first major, like, so he was the person that when I had a roommate named Emilio in college, and he was ripped. He was one of those kids just genetically gifted, worked out hard, and I gained the freshman 15 my freshman year in college. And so he would walk down the hallway with his shirt off, just like ripped 6-pack abs, and like all the girls would look as he walked out, and sometimes they'd come knock on our door, and I'd look through the peephole, and I'd see pretty college girls, and I'd be like, oh yeah, they wanted me to hang out with them, and I'd open the door and I'd be like, hey, is Emilio here? And I was like, shit, right? So I was like, I want that, like, obviously, because I'm looking in the mirror and I got the freshman 15. So the first thing I did, I bought some muscle magazines at like the local corners. This was before like the internet was like the internet. It's like 2007. You know? I think I maybe had just uninstalled MySpace and was starting to get like a Facebook. This is like the baby days. But I remember YouTube was starting to blow up, and I think I literally looked up like how to get in shape on YouTube, and Elliot Hulse was one of the first people that popped up, and I really idolized him. And I mean, I still do to this day. He just started a podcast and I've been listening to that, but he's been around now. He's got staying power. He's been relevant for, I don't know, 15, 20 years now at this point. And he was, the thing that I really appreciated about his approach to fitness is he talked about like the spiritual aspect of it, and how, you know, it's deeper than doing, you know, deadlifts and squats. It's, you know, when you're squatting, it's an analogy for life. It's about standing back up after something heavy takes you down. Like he was really, really deep when it came to that kind of stuff. And it always activated in something in me that I really liked, and it motivated me, you know. So shout out to Elliot Hulse. I remember he followed me, and this, you don't even know who he is, and this is how big. This is what I mean. Like, you've had such the people that reach out to you and message you. I'd be like starstruck, you know.
No, man.
But he followed me on Instagram, and I think and I was like, I made it, you know, like my idol. It follows me. And he liked one of my things one time, and I was so excited. And this is a guy that nobody knows, but he made me want to be a trainer because I just love the way his brain worked and the way he spoke. You know, he used to talk about breathing into your balls and like speaking from like a place of authority, and everything he did was just so spiritual. Like I don't know, but so
say it with your chest.
Yeah, he was like just a man's man, but also a great father. So shout out to Elliot Hulse. He's one of the reasons I ended up falling in love with the fitness industry. Yeah, but he was one of those guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
That was it reminded me to think again, another guy that we did like a virtual podcast, Corey Gregory.
Okay.
He's been on like the cover of every like muscle mag thing, just like jacked.
Yeah.
And you know, it kind of leads to the next point here.
Yeah.
He was like light years beyond what I was doing at the time. I was still like kind of competing in CrossFit when I met him. Well, not kind of. I was competing in CrossFit in like 2015. He came into Reebok, and we started to chop it up a bit. And same thing. He followed me on Instagram, would like and comment on things. And I think
verified account, all that
used
stuff.
to be,
Yeah.
Well, what it used to be, I think the world of Instagram has changed. And I don't want to like sit here and complain about something.
I do. I'm mad. I'm upset with Instagram.
But you could, I'd post something that was cool, and then other people would like repost it, and then their followers would then follow. It's like you could be like, this is cool. Like, it seemed like there was so much more support rather than now people don't want to accept collaborations from other people and like different followings. Corey was one of those guys who would repost the stuff, would post on his story. Same with like Mark Bell. They'd throw stuff on there, and it's like, people don't realize, especially at that level, the level of these just absolute legends that are just, I mean, the top tier in the training world in respective disciplines. They give you a shout out, like that can change. That can make a lot of really, really big changes in your life.
Absolutely.
I think people are like really hesitant to do that. People,
I don't understand that. That's the poverty mindset. And there's a few people. Joe Rogan talks about this a lot, where he's talking about like people look at success like it's like a pie, and that there's only so many slices to go around, and it's just not the way it is, man. And in fact, we should be supporting each other and lifting each other up, especially in markets like fitness, because it's not about us. It's about helping as many people as we can. Like I didn't invent a deadlift. There's no reason I'm not going to tell you how to do a deadlift properly because I want to keep it for me and Mike. Like it's just nonsensical, man. We need to be supporting each other and building each other up. And I totally see where you're coming from, and I see that too, actually, now that I think about it.
And I love, I have a lot of respect for the people that do that. And again, sometimes it takes me saying this stuff out loud to realize where I can be better. It's like, no, maybe I need to set the example. Instead of it being like, oh, why aren't these guys, Alex Williams set me up with Mike Van Wyck, who works with Drake, did some like close personal protection in that world. He's not like real big about like talking about his life in there, but just really, really, unique and good trainer, and like the bodybuilding side of things different from me, but like he was all for it, like lifting you up. I mean, like you look at him, you're like, okay, this guy probably doesn't want to repost anything. I know who you're talking about, the
big muscular tattooed guy.
Giant man.
I've seen him recently on my TikTok, actually.
Yeah, like super supportive, and was like really, really like kind. We sat here for, what was it, 2 hours talking just like on a podcast, and just like,
oh, no way,
really unique. And I think I need to, and you guys can call me out on it if it's not happening, but like I see something cool. It doesn't have to be contrived. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to go now repost 100 trainers things, but things that I relate to, and that it's like, let's lift each other up. Let's do that, because like you said, not pieces of a pie. I said this on the last podcast. It's like, there's enough to go around. There's enough people who need training. Tenfold. It's a matter of
everybody needs it. You're a trainer. I'm sure you have coaches. Like everybody. I'm a trainer, and I have a coach. Like for me, sometimes I just want to be able to shut my brain off when I've been in the gym telling people what to do all day. Sometimes I just want to shut my brain off and be told what to do. I mean, and the accountability and the motivation and all that stuff. The reason why people hire us, like we could benefit from those same services as well. You know what I mean? So. That's it, yeah. Tom Brady has a coach. I mean, come on, man. The greatest of all time has coaches. Michael Jordan had a strength coach. Like, there's no reason that, that people shouldn't be. Yeah, we can get into that forever. We could talk about the benefits of training and stuff, but that's a never-ending conversation.
It is unique because the two different sides of training is like the actual working out.
Yep.
And then when you obsess about the passion and want to give back as a coach.
Yeah.
And I think both of those things are very profound. And there's not, I think that's one of the, I try not to speak in absolutes. I do it all the time, but I try not to speak in absolutes. However, there's not a single person who can't benefit from training. Yeah. There's not a single person who's like, oh, check the box, I'm fit now.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Talk to me about, because this is a cool opportunity, man. Like, talk to me about your like training modality and like your philosophy with how you program your clients and stuff. I'm always curious to pick other trainers' minds, and we have a cool opportunity to do it here.
It depends on the client.
Yeah.
Depends on what they're doing. You know, the workouts for the most part, you know, like my training background and what I do is CrossFit.
Okay.
It's constantly varied functional movement at high intensity.
Do you work in like movement patterns, or how do you set up your, like, do you do like a push day and a pull day, or is it different because it's more like a WOD style? Or
so a lot of times for like the meat and potatoes of CrossFit programming.
Yeah, because I don't have a CrossFit cert, so
there's a lot of complementary movement patterns in order to gain high intensity. So for instance, like a classic CrossFit workout is a workout called Fran. It's reps of 21, reps of 15, reps of 9 of a barbell thruster at prescribed weight, 95 pounds for gentlemen, 65 pounds for ladies. So a full squat into a press overhead.
Yeah, like a thruster.
And then, and then pull-ups. So it's 21 of each, 15 of each, 9 of each. Okay. Best in the world can do it in 2 minutes. You know, your goal is to try to get someone between like a 5 and 8 minute window there. So it's universally scalable. You know, you can always scale the weight. If there's injuries, you can scale from instead of a squat to just do a push press. If there's something overhead, then they can just do a squat. You know, there's infinite ways to do that. And the effectiveness of high power output workouts and the intensity is, you know, that's what garners the results that most people are looking for. However, if it's, you know, someone who is just trying to regain functionality, so they're looking for functional competency. It's like if my grandma wants to be able to sit down on the couch and stand as much as I want to get back to squatting, you know,
300, 400, 500 pounds.
Yeah, whatever weight. We still need to do the same thing. We still need to squat. It's just going to look a little bit different.
Yeah, of course.
So for my grandma, she might be, you know, sitting down to a chair, standing up and raising her arms overhead, putting 2 expo markers over her head. Yeah. Or then grabbing a set of rings for her pull-ups and pulling herself in. And so that would be, that'd be a complementary movement pattern. You know, the push, as soon as you're done pushing, now all of a sudden you have to do pulling. And then as soon as you're done pulling, then you can do pushing, which maximizes the intensity. Yeah. And then, you know, we kind of start to figure out where people are weak. And what I do for training isn't really specialized. When I've worked with professional athletes, my goal, I don't take my lacrosse guys and work on stick movement. Like, I don't know anything about that. What I do know is that I can make someone a better athlete by taking their weakness and then making it a strength. Yeah. I had an athlete who tore his hamstring, I don't know, it was like in 2016 maybe, and just never really fully recovered from it. But as you know, athletes are just absolutely incredible in how they can, you know, how their bodies can morph and do things to still be an athlete. But he couldn't do a lunge body weight with his heel on the ground. Yeah. He had to shift forward into his toe so he can use his quads to press him back up. He'd never really regained any sort of strength or capacity in his hamstrings.
So he wasn't squatting, he was crouching.
I mean, like the squat, it was more so just the lunge position where, because you can still, I mean, we were still squatting below parallel. We were still getting a squat in. It was just so anterior dominant. And once we realized that, it's like, hey, we got to work a lot more. And like he could, you know, you could deadlift with a trap bar, but if we were to put his shoulders over the bar to really load the backside of his body, really, really struggling. And, you know, created more core musculature, created more engagement in the posterior chain. And now he's playing the best lacrosse he's played in his life. Awesome. And you're like, I don't know. I could probably from an anatomy and physiology standpoint, like give you some ideas why, but in the other sense, like I just don't care. Yeah. I don't care why. Yeah. The fact that we found a weakness, we made it better, and then we got into that. So with the private training thing, I think that's kind of the focus, depending on what someone's goals are. Exactly. If someone's looking to get stronger, it's going to be more of a strength program while still doing the metabolic conditioning component. Because if I only have someone for an hour, I want to try to get the best bang for their buck there.
One of the things that not that I struggle with, but I kind of lean away from, and that's because I'm a personal trainer, not a CrossFit coach. Like, and you can be both, right? But one of the things, like, I've always had this mentality where I'm not going to charge a client to watch them run around the block. Like, you know, I'm not going to charge a client to watch them do burpees. I'm not going to charge a client to do those kind of things. So I I really tend with my training modality. I'm old school, golden era, bench, squat, deadlift, getting clients powerful, activating big compound lifts, things that burn a lot of calories, but also build a lot of muscle efficiently, like you're talking about. But one thing that CrossFit really, I used to, like a lot of people with, you know, substantial education in exercise science, I kind of used to poo-poo CrossFit, but then I tried a couple classes and they kick your ass, man. Like, I'm strong as an ox, but I mean, the things that you're talking about, I'd be slow at. And that's because, you know, that's not what I've built myself for. And, you know, once again, going back to what your goals are, at one point, I just wanted to be the strongest person in the room. And I started, that was my only focus. And I did a lot of powerlifting, a lot of strongman style training. But, you know, trying to run, you know, 10 miles probably would have killed me. You know what I mean? But if you gave me that, you know, that bench press and told me to bench 350, I was able to do that. You know what I mean? So that was, it kind of, that's the fun thing about, like you said, our training is that the client comes to you with what their goals are, and you build a program for them based off of that. If a client wants to get better at running, like I might be more apt to say, go hire a run coach. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or if a client wants to get super shredded and, you know, maybe not be the most powerful version of self, I might say, go, let me introduce you to my buddy who I think CrossFit might be a better idea for you. But there's so much different things. I've kind of been leaning more towards, like, I don't know, like Ben Bruno's gotten me more into like a lot of the unilateral, like single limb stuff. I really like that because there's a lot of like fine muscle integration, and a lot of my clients work desk jobs, so they lose a lot of like balance and stability and all that fun stuff. But yeah, we could talk about fitness wherever, and it's cool to be sitting here with another trainer.
In the actual, you know, the coaching piece of it,
it's cool too, because I don't think a lot of people get to hear trainers talk about stuff like this behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it's, you know, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, as they say. Which is, now that you think about it, kind of a weird saying, but, you know, people will come back to a trainer for usually 2 reasons, and one above the other. Yeah.
It's not even fitness.
And this is, it's
not even fitness.
Some of the best and I don't want to say this saying that they don't know what they're doing, but some of the most successful in success in a matter of can't take on any more clients because they're just simply too busy, and the retention of their clients. That's how I would say successful would be. It's like, they're just like, people want to be around them. Yeah. They're invested into them. My ex was, I mean, the families, it was like, we couldn't go a week without being like invited to dinner with their families. They just wanted to be around her because she was invested and she cared so much about their results. Yeah. Now, also because she was a great trainer, she was able to have these connections and get them their results. Yeah. And then, you know, it's not just a one-on-one private in-home training, because they're like, all my friends are coming to this because they're wondering what I'm doing because I'm seeing these results. And it's like that care component.
This is so huge, I think, for up-and-coming trainers too, and trainers that are struggling, because there are so many trainers in our industry that struggle. Yeah.
You could have 19 certificates, have a doctorate in human movement, anything. Yeah. But if you're not fun to be around, or if you're not, you know,
if you can add 5 pounds to a client's squat, that won't matter to them as much as you remembering their kids' names and that they had a soccer game this weekend, and asking them about their kid's soccer game that first moment they walk into the gym. Yeah. You know, it's the people skills. It's caring about people more than you do about shoulder presses or bicep curls or tricep extensions. It's caring about your clients, knowing their partner's name, what their partner does for a living, what, you know, your client's interests are, saying, hey, I listened to some of that artist you were talking about last time that I never heard before. I love this song and this song, you know, and they glow because they could tell that you care about them. And that's the biggest thing I think a lot of trainers lack is, like you said, you could have 19 certifications, but if you're shit with people, you're going to really struggle in this industry. You have to care about people more than you do, you know, getting 5 pounds onto a client squat. Because if the reality is, if they're consistent and the programming's right, that's just going to come naturally anyways. And then sales skills is huge in our industry, and it's something people don't talk about. Like, if you're not comfortable asking a client, like, hey, this is what you want, this is how much it costs, you're going to really struggle too. Because I've seen people that are great with people. I've seen trainers in this industry that are really good with people, and I've seen trainers in this industry that are really good with the fitness side. But when it comes to, you know, saying, okay, you know, this is your goals, this is how long it's going to take, this is what the cost is. Like, a lot of people, there's a lot of, you know, a lot of people in our industry will start off, they'll train clients for free. They'll do all types of things that just to sabotage their business and show less value in their own service. And so having sales skills, I think sales skills and people skills are kind of simultaneous, like they work hand in hand. But I don't know. know. I've always like thought of those three things working in collaboration with each other. So if you want to be an elite level personal trainer, like you're talking about with just not having enough hours in the day to sell any longer and a wait list of clients, you have to be good at sales. You have to, the entrepreneur side of it too. You always have to be growing your business. In a small business like personal training, like if you're not growing, you're
can't replicate yourself.
Yeah.
So you can't.
There's only so many hours in the day to sell. So the entrepreneur side, the people skills, and then obviously the fitness is the thing that people are coming to us in the first place for. But yeah, it's really cool to sit and talk to another trainer about this.
I think pairing the sales skills, because I've never really thought about it as sales as much as knowing your worth.
Yeah, exactly.
And what I always try to explain to people is don't think, hey, this is too much for me to charge, unless you don't believe in that. But there's been times where I have set, and it's been different for different people.
Yeah.
But there was a time when it was like, hey, this person, X person, I want you to train my daughter. And it was a person that worked for the company. And it got to the point I was like, I don't have a lot of time. However, this is the price that I charge. This is the price that's going to have me excited, motivated in order to do this, because I have a million different things going on.
Yeah.
And then it came back and it was like, well, that's pretty expensive. I've met, other trainers who are doing this. And I was like, hey, if you want to go to other trainers, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I can even direct you to some people that'll do like some similar things.
Yeah.
But I charge the same for an artist, for a professional athlete too. And this woman's daughter wanted to play volleyball. And so it was like, okay, 5 times a week, here's what we're going to do. And I'm like, all right. And then of course it's like one of those scenarios where after 2 weeks, I become just as invested, if not more. And this girl who, as she's growing up, like loses some coordination with growth. And then now she's like getting better at all these different things. And it's a training program that I've worked with other lacrosse players, but I've gained from trial and error of doing CrossFit and learning from the aerobic capacity side from Chris Hinshaw on, well, what is the goal of your athlete? What is your athlete going to be doing?
Yeah.
Even John Wellborn, he ran this program called CrossFit Football, then now it's a power athlete. He still has his program. He's down in Austin, Texas. He played football for Kansas City and then also for the Patriots for a while, just the largest human being in the world. But got into the CrossFit side of things in like 2007, 2008. But when in his seminar, he's like, if you're training football players, why would you ever have them run any further than this? And it's like, that's not what you're training them for. Like, it's specialized training. All of the, and he had these like really specialized things, which I've taken that from power athlete and then created a program. Again, nothing I've done, I invented.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all been from other people who have trained in different sports, and I've got to take it, kind of make my own version of it. And then how I apply it is really what people would be interested in. But however, with like the price thing, some people are like, well, I don't want to say a price, and then they say no. Yeah. It's like, I think you've got to be okay with saying,
I was just about to say, you can't think that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. With anything, it doesn't matter whether you're selling fitness or you're selling, anything. You have to be comfortable with rejection.
And it's never an hour. People are like, oh, they're paying, whatever amount of dollars per hour. Yeah. And it's like the hour before the class that we're, going over setting up the equipment, the breakdown afterwards, the nutrition side of things, the programming and the workout.
How do you approach nutrition? Because you're not a certified nutritionist, are you?
Nope.
Okay, so do you have to, because I'm always really anxious about that, where I will say, well, because we can't legally write anything out for. I mean, I will only speak for myself.
You can write You can recommend.
Yeah, I was gonna say what I would eat if I were you and trying to lose this weight. What I would do if I.
Yeah, we can't prescribe anything to someone.
Yeah, that's the one. That's one thing that's another cert that I think I'm gonna try to get. I'm very, because nutrition is a big component of it, and I tell my clients all the time, like, listen, I'm gonna make you really fucking strong, and we're gonna get you the hard work, dedication, discipline, consistency. We're gonna get all the characters that you're gonna get out of this is gonna help you become a better version of yourself. But you can undo all the hard work you're doing in the gym by not following it up outside of here. The workout's 4% of your day. It's the other 23 hours that are really what the client's going up against. And nutrition's a big part of that. And we could talk about that forever as well. But yeah, how do you go about keeping clients accountable with, like Stacia Patwell? I know she does like groups of clients in like 4 or 5, and they are like little, girl accountability groups where they send each other their steps every night. And how do you go about that with your clients? Do you have a special? Because I'm curious to see. That's definitely, I make clients really strong, but I struggle with, I have so many clients that it can be challenging to be on top of all, 30 of them or however many I have at any given time when they're outside of the gym? How do you manage that?
There's, we give a nutrition lecture at the CrossFit Level 1 and at the Level 2 certificate course. And as opposed to it being like, hey, here's what you need to do.
Yeah.
It is, here's some waves. It's like, here's the problem.
Yeah.
And, kind of the main focus is on the main issue that we're seeing is hyperinsulinemia. There's too much insulin in the blood, but it's coming from refined, processed liquid carbohydrates that are spiking our blood sugar with all the hormonal imbalance. As Norman Kaplan wrote in a paper in 1989, it's like hyperinsulinemia is the center of the deadly quartet: upper body obesity, hypertriglyceridemia, hypertension, and glucose intolerance. And so if we can just get people to start realizing, all right, so the more fake carbohydrates I eat, the worse things are going to be. So we have this like eating for wellness.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here are some things. And really it's just like,
we want to be
eat real foods.
Complex carbs. Yeah.
Here's what real foods are.
Exactly.
And then it comes to the other part of the prescription is, so it's eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. And the second part is keep intakes to levels that support exercise, but not body fat.
Yeah.
No one's going to argue that. They're like, oh, wait, so I need to eat to support what I'm actually doing, but not to get fat. You're like, okay.
And then if you want to gain, you have to be above. If you want to lose, you have to be below. It's very basic.
And then there's the, okay, my goal is I'm trying to gain weight. And we talk about the caloric value there and the amount of protein, the amount of grams of protein. And there's a lot of different information. But how I usually start nutrition with clients, so I said, write a logbook. Yeah. Everything that you eat.
Do you ever have clients that are just like, they just don't. Yep. That frustrates the shit out of me. And I struggle with that. That's what I mean. Like, and I'm sure you've had clients that have undone the hard work that you guys have put in the gym, outside of the gym. And I've always been curious to pick another really high level personal trainer's brain about
I always think
how you manage that.
I always think about it this way. You talk about someone's goals.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do as a personal trainer, or one of the worst things that you can do as a personal trainer, is start to care about your clients' results more than they can.
Yeah.
Because then it just puts an unwanted pressure on it, and then we start gaining this frustration. I always think of it as, if they weren't coming to me at all, they'd be much worse off.
Yeah, of course.
And instead of pushing,
all my clients get results. That's not the issue. It's just sometimes they could be getting better results if they were following it up outside of the gym, Yeah. And so I get frustrated, and it's fun to talk to another trainer about that.
I like the micro steps. All right. So for instance, there's a guy who worked in like the senior director at Reebok. His name is John Lynch.
Okay.
And he was drinking like a 6-pack of soda a day. Yeah. And the first thing, and I think he was working with one of my coworkers. His name is Matt Della Valle. And Matt was like, "We're just going to go to 4 a day.
Okay.
That's it. We're just going to go 4 a day.
Progress."
And then on his own, it was like, well, I'm starting to feel better about this. And then it just kind of like got into that. And then John Lynch was able to see the progress himself and think, okay, this is, what's incredible. At 50 years old, he PR'd his 5K time, ran as fast as 5K he's ever ran in his life, and did his first muscle up.
Hell yeah.
And he's like, okay, this is good.
And that's motivating too to a client when they see the results quickly, you know what I mean? And that's a big part of it. That's what I say to clients. I'm like, give me 90 days. Let's do you've spent 33 years getting yourself to this point. Give me 90 days, super clean diet, drink a gallon of water a day, get 7 hours of sleep. And it can be so much at first, but the clients that do that get results so quickly that you don't even have to be on top. And then you can start to reintroduce some of those cheat meals. And it's so motivating when they start to see that progress, but it can be so frustrating when a client doesn't even have the discipline or determination to even just give you 90 days of dedication. And I don't know, I love my job and it's fun, but people make it interesting and people also make it frustrating, and I love my clients and they all get results, but it's just fun to not bitch, but it's fun to pick another trainer's brain if they have ever run up against these issues either. I could talk about what's been successful for me forever, but I'm always curious to be let's talk about the fun stuff. You know what I mean? How do you manage that? So Mike, you're saying your recommendation to other trainers dealing with that would be to take baby steps.
Yeah, and also make sure that the client wants it.
Yeah,
because you can talk
lead a horse to water.
Yeah, you can talk till you're blue in the face, but if someone's like, "Hey, I want to eat like shit," and come in here and just offset it.
Drinking.
That's what I want.
You have young clients. That's the big one for me. I struggle with
just young clients, young, old, 17, 60 years old. Yeah. It's like
clients in their 20s just don't want to sacrifice those 6 or 7 Friday nights in a row. It's like so out of their. I'm like, just give me like 1 month. Just try and see how much better you're sleeping, how much better you feel, how much weight you've lost, you know, because we all know that the alcohol spikes and crashes your insulin levels. It messes up your sleep and makes you, it's the number one thing. I think I have clients that'll eat super clean, but then Thursday through Sunday they're drinking, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to put jam in the car into reverse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny, but we're young too. And like I said, we're dealing with people. We're not dealing with, we're dealing with people for a living, and people are quirky by default, man.
Yeah. It's also, it's like, you know,
what's your favorite, do you have a favorite client of all time?
When I first started coaching, and I think this is maybe a testament to the whole like caring about people thing.
Yeah.
When I first started coaching, like I think about some of like the workouts I was programming and some of the things that I had done, the lack of actual coaching, the actual improving human movement from things. But there was this group of moms at this gym when I was still in the Navy, at this gym down in San Diego called CrossFit Del. It was called CrossFit PIA, CrossFit Players in Action, and CrossFit Del Norte. And just that whole group of women in there were just, you know, it was like herding cats, getting them to do the right thing. But they were always just
fun and positive.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh man. My favorite, dude, I've trained hundreds, probably close to 1,000 people in my career, man. My favorite client, I've been training now going on 8 something years, and there's still clients that I've been with for probably 8 years now. So one of them that comes to mind just by default for how long we've been together is a guy named Colin. And he's been like, he's a little bit older than me, but I really look up to him. And it's cool. You get to build relationships with people. And going back to the whole, like, I know his kids' names and what his kids' interests are. And, you know, when I did my fundraiser for Project F, his wife came and she cried when she saw the video. And it's just like, you know, it's those human connections to me that mean so much more than, you know, maxing out, you know, a person's bench press, or, you know, I look forward, I'm sure you know this, there's certain people on your schedule when you look forward to training them, and, you know, sometimes there's some you don't, but Colin's definitely one of those people that, you know, I don't ever see myself not training him. I hope that, you know, he's a 70-year-old man and we're doing chair squats together at some point, you know what I mean? Those clients are the ones that make you want to do what you do for a living, you know?
It just reminded me, there's a client, I don't know if he wants to be referenced on this, but we'll say his name's Jeff. It actually is, but I'm going to talk about his last name. He came in, he worked for the company, so at Reebok. He worked for not Reebok, but the company Sodexo that did the whole cafeteria.
Yeah.
He found out that like they can start coming over to the gym. This was before we were all one building. He had like the Reebok headquarters, the basketball court, the traditional gym, and then we were in building 5.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, it was things were pretty kosher over there. Like we could get away with murder out there.
Yeah.
And he comes in and he's like, my daughter's wedding's coming up and I want to look good for it.
I can't fit into my tux.
Super motivated, just like awesome. And was like always happy. And he was just joining his typical CrossFit class, like the group training. And I remember specifically when he wasn't like, you know, the nutrition, the drinking was something hard for him. We worked on him with it. I don't know exactly how strict he was with it, but he had lost so much weight that we were doing a class that involved double unders. And he was scaling down to single unders. He'd do a certain amount of attempts and just do single unders. And he lost so much weight that his shorts fell onto the floor.
Go. Hey, that's a good problem.
And I was like, you know, and he turned around and he was like, my shorts. And at first I wasn't really like, oh, this is so cool because he lost weight. I'm like,
pull your pants up.
Yeah, but you got to take it. And he kicked him off to the side and finished the workout in his underwear. And he's like, they fell off because I lost so much weight. And it was just like, this is and then afterwards, you know, after the wedding, he would always come back to us and be like, you guys are so awesome. You changed my life. And, and it wasn't me. It was like our group training. We had a series of coaches. We had, you know, 500 people that were coming to the gym. We had 7 full-time coaches. It was just all this, you know, the whole like training environment. But Jeff was awesome.
That's awesome. I hope he hears this story. Yeah, that's so great.
And there's a ton of stories like that. You get the people who lose a bunch of weight. The people, maybe one of my favorite clients is Jordan McIntosh.
Okay.
He's a pro lacrosse player, lives in Charlestown.
Okay. That's where I live. Shout out to Charlestown.
Yeah. Charlestown homies. And that's, I actually got introduced to him through Kevin Miller, who was a Bruins defenseman.
Okay.
And Jordy I call him Jordy. I think Kevin calls him Jordy, but I don't think anyone else calls him Jordy, but I still do. Jordy came by and he had just had like a broken wrist, so he didn't finish the playoffs of his season. So we had just started training from there. And I could say, hey, today, Jordy, you're going to put your head on you're going to put your face on the turf and you're going to do bear crawls up and down. And as opposed to going, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, which it is.
Those are the best clients though, where they just shut their brain off and do what they're told.
Anything
as that sounds, but like those workhorses like that are the ones that when you get them, you're like, this is a good client.
When I was in St. Thomas, I took a little hiatus from Boston, went down to St. Thomas to work full time.
The Caribbean?
Yep. And he was like, hey, I got, training. I want to like work up to this year's. And I'm like, okay. And a big thing he wanted to improve was upper body and lower body strength. So it's like, all right. So we created a template for, linear progression of squat and bench. And
like
then
a conventional high-low split.
Yep.
Okay.
And then had, metabolic conditioning workouts in between there. Everything that I wrote down on paper, he did.
Yeah. Awesome.
Everything. And he wrote down notes. He would write down his times. He would do everything.
Yeah.
And I wasn't actually at the time, I wasn't really charging him much. I'm like, hey, here's just what I want so that it reminds me to do it.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, I'll write you some stuff, because we had worked so closely together. And then got to the point where we would just work out together. We would just do partner workouts and do all this stuff. But just the person. And that was the same as Ava, the field hockey player. I'm like, here's what we're doing. Here's how hard I want you to go in the first round.
Yeah.
And it would just be like, okay, this is going to hurt, but fucking let's go.
It's fun with young people too, like Ava and the younger, and that's one of the things with Project F that I'm really excited about too, is it's like, if you instill those characteristics that we're talking about, over the last hour or so, like into these kids, it's really rewarding to see them not only develop fitness wise, but to develop into young, successful adults. You know what I mean? Like the lessons and the things that you taught Ava, she'll not just have that, in that season of training, but she's going to carry those characteristics over into her life. And I think that's a really cool thing that we get to do for people. That's one of the biggest things that, one of the most rewarding moments of, our career too. And I mean, I can only speak for myself, but when people message you years later saying like, I just want to thank you for being there for me during my divorce, for being there for me when I was, when I had low self-esteem and you helped me lose all that weight, it's like, you realize it's so much deeper than, PRing certain exercises. You're helping people become the best version of themselves. And that sticks with people. And it's a really rewarding thing. Like you may not realize it, but you were glowing when you were talking about your favorite clients. And I think that's one of the greatest, yes, we give an amazing thing to our clients, but we get an amazing gift in return by being able to help those clients with those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've always said to people, I fucking
love our job.
I've always said to people, I'm like, hey, like I've always been a pretty selfish person in the point that like, I like doing things that make me feel good.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love this training world, because people are like, oh, it's giving back. And it's like, yes, but it's also very selfish for me. When these things happen and I get that praise, that's a really, really cool thing for me to experience.
Yeah.
But if now I can find a route and find an avenue, and I'm pretty self-aware also.
Yeah.
But if I can find an avenue where it's actually mutually beneficial, well, shoot, that's a whole lot better than me doing just one thing. Me just finding something that makes me feel good and it doesn't help anyone else out.
Yeah.
And I think with Project F, learning or teaching these kids that there's positive results that come from doing hard shit. Training and a rigorous training program is difficult.
Yeah.
And these are kids who have seen more trauma than what you said, even like PTSD combat veterans.
Yeah.
And to teach them that there's a world where, one, people care about them.
Yeah.
But two, the rate of return on hard work. And then also, and we talked about this like early on too, you said, growing up, you never like felt a purpose.
Yeah.
No one ever needed you.
No.
So why would you
my own
find
parents
any value? Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's, traumatic in itself. But when you find an area where you get good at something and then you can give that back to someone else, then other people, they need you.
Yeah.
Or at least that feeling of it being like, I'm needed, I'm wanted, I'm providing value, not to just this person, but to improve the quality of life through many people and actually make this world a better place.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much else that can put someone on the right path than that.
Yeah. And like I said, going back to it, is I can't think of a more qualified person than people like, you know, yourself and myself to help these kids, because it's our world. You know, we teach all that, all the character traits, but just having that one consistent person is so crucial for these kids. All the research and all the statistics also go on to show, you know, we can list all the statistics that show the likely bad outcomes, but we can also talk about the statistics that show just having one positive male role model in a young man's life completely changes the trajectory of their life for the better. And they're more likely to stay out of prison, stay away from drugs. They're more likely to graduate. They're more likely to seek higher education, find full-time employment, avoid homelessness. Like, you know, in the gym, and you could, you know, like we've said, all been talking so much about fitness and how beneficial those relationships are. The gym is, for these kids particularly, Connor, there's a power shift dynamic where these kids don't have any control in their life, and they're either living in group homes or bouncing home to home. And this can be the one consistent place where no matter what home they're living in, no matter what group home they're staying at, no matter how many different foster families they bounce in between, this can be the one consistent place where they know it's theirs. They can go, somebody cares about them, and when they walk through that door, they have total control. Fitness is one of the rare places in life. Gyms are one of the rare places in life where you get back 100% of what you invest into it. And I can't wait to see, I just can't wait to start this program, man. I'm so excited about it. I'm already, you know, what we need for that is we need money. I'm already walking. I was walking through Beacon Hill today, and I found this like small storefront that's for lease right now. And I'm like, fuck, I wish I had the money already to pull the trigger on that space and outfit it. And that's really the stage that we're at. And, you know, I'm hoping even just being on this and getting, you know, the idea for the project out there, it helps. But that's really the stage that I'm at right now, is I have the qualifications. The 501c3 has been put through. I've already started talking to DCF. There's over 1,300 kids on a wait list right now waiting for a mentor. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an interview process. First and foremost, we have to have the facility. So that's where I'm at, is fundraising right now for that. And we had an amazing fundraiser actually at Big Night Live this past Sunday, and we raised like $14,000 in 24 hours, which is amazing, and I'm so happy about it. But there's so much more that we need to raise. And once, you know, I get the money for that, we can get a location. We can outfit it with a gym, which isn't cheap, as you know. But yeah, man, I want this so desperately. It's my first and last thought every day when I wake up. And I've done a really cool thing in my career where I've helped a lot of successful young professionals, and I've built a really nice life for myself. And now I'm in the stage where I want to go back and give. And I want to show kids that they can come from where we come from and still go on to build an amazing life, and still go on to get higher education and open businesses and get degrees and make good money, and, you know, not end up homeless, not end up incarcerated, not end up on drugs. You know, unfortunately, the statistics say that that's the likely outcome. The statistics for foster kids is that they're either, more than half of them are going to be either dead, in prison, or on drugs by the time they're 26 years old. And it's just because nobody is there for them. And I know I can be one of those people that's there for them.
Yeah.
But we're at that fundraising part where I got to get the money. Yeah.
So what I'll do is we'll put on the link in here. It's the video we were talking about earlier. It's titled Foster, and it's just kind of Jesse's kind of story, the why behind it. You know, we talk a lot about what is going to come next, but if there is someone that you know that wants to get involved, if there's areas that you want to donate, we can put to, you know, wherever, like the GoFundMe. Yep, the GoFundMe and the donation to get this stuff going. I think it's really unique. I've seen, you know, even the
country's very first nonprofit gym for foster kids and orphans.
It's wild. And I know firsthand the ability of, and this is, I mean, you talked about like the incarceration process, or the incarceration rate.
Yeah.
We do CrossFit level 1 certificate courses inside of prisons.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And if people will figure out a way to sign up and take the course. It's not like a course that they get to do for free, which people, you know, just get bent out of shape about. We post one video on CrossFit.com about like these, you know, like level 1. And they're like, well, I do this and that, and they've already created. And they're like, relax.
Yeah.
But the rate of when people now have something they can do, and even in prison helping others train and then get out and get this second shot to go to an affiliate and say, hey, I'd like to come coach and help here.
Yeah.
Amazing programs like that. Amazing programs like Phoenix Multisport, where people are
in recovery.
Yep. If you're sober for 24 hours, you can go there and essentially train.
Yeah.
And
I know about Phoenix. I think that's such a great program.
And it's you know, that is front of mind to me because I know the people that do it.
Yeah.
But when I talk about like the foster, foster care and
inner city weightlifting, inner city weightlifting.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Kind of like the same idea. It's a nonprofit gym that works with individuals coming out of prison or are likely offenders. It's former gang involved, or they're just considered the most at one point they're like the most likely to commit violent crimes, and the founder of it got the list of it and started inviting them to work out, and now it's this big program. I know they get tons of government funding, and I know the Patriots just gave them like $100,000. The Patriot Foundation gave them $100,000, and they're kind of doing. My program's different because it's not adults that have, due to systemic racism or injustices or what have you, have made bad decisions and now they're trying to help. It's like we're trying to prevent these kids from going down that route.
Yeah,
we're talking about children. We're talking about orphans, kids that are victims of horrible lifestyles due to no fault of their own. We're trying to not be a response to homelessness or incarceration or drug use. We're trying to prevent them from going down that route.
Root cause.
Yes, exactly. Getting to them before they end up another statistic. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so pumped, and I can't wait, man. And you got to be a part of it.
Yeah,
you're the man, dude.
I don't know about that, but in any way that I can help and hopefully help influence. And like you said before, the goal isn't to help one person. The goal is to help a whole lot of people. Yeah. But if all of our efforts in this, all of your efforts, allow one person who wouldn't have followed your route to find success in this life. If one person stays out of jail and ends up going down this route of whether it's training, whether it's college, whether it's any other route, but just to get another chance of success, I think that's worth it.
And it's a cool concept too. I remember we were talking about it the other day over lunches. It's like, okay, so say I get government funding and grants and I get private donations like I'm raising right now, and eventually corporate donations like, Microsoft and whatever, Patriots, whoever. So now say I have 10 kids that I'm working with just on my own, right? And 2 or 3 of them express interest in going the route that I did, right? And becoming certified personal trainers. Now I can get these kids certified. I can let them apprentice underneath me. I can get them involved. I can get them into higher education. I can help them study all that fun stuff, help get them into their career fields. Now there's 4 of me, right? So now I can have clients coming in and working with these kids. So going back to keeping these kids off the street, finding them full-time work, giving them a higher sense of purpose and community, like automatically just by being a gym-based program, we can help these kids find a career path, stay off the streets, help them find housing, like all of that stuff, just by doing what the whole point of the program is anyways, which is being that one person and teaching them the gym and fitness. And next thing you know is very scalable, right? Because Boston's not the only city where there's orphans and where there's foster kids. It's all over the country. There's close to 500,000 right now. And I actually was talking to somebody at DCF the other day. They said they've never had more kids coming in one time than they do now post-pandemic. And I asked why that was. And she said, do you know who the #1 reporter of child neglect and child abuse is? And I said, no. And they said, school teachers. Do you know where kids haven't been the last 2 years? In school. So the primary reporters now haven't been able to highlight all the things that have been going on at home. And we know domestic abuse is up. We know alcoholism's up. We know all this fallout from the pandemic we already had a huge issue with the foster care system, but now they're being overrun with new cases, and there's still a list of thousands of kids waiting for help. And I just want to be that person so desperately, and I'm so excited to use my 2 things, which is foster care and fitness, and merge them together and create something really special that's super scalable, and every city could. This isn't going to be just a Boston thing, Connor. This is going to be something we can expand to Providence, New York, Hartford, and all the way down the East Coast and all the way to LA. This is a problem that we have, and people always say somebody should do something about it, and that's what I'm trying to do with Project F.
Someone wants to reach out to you directly. How do you want them to contact? Email, Instagram?
They can go to my Instagram, which is just my name, Jesse Setaro, JESSESETARO. That's what I'm using right now. It's what I'm getting most of my messages and donations and things through. My story's up there. So one issue that I came into that I didn't realize until after the fundraiser is I posted the 15 the 15-minute video onto my Instagram telling my story. But what I didn't realize is that my video is actually 15 minutes and 53 seconds long. So it cut off the last part, which I feel was like the most uptoned and inspiring positive part of the video.
Yeah.
So, but my GoFundMe is linked in my bio and the entire video is in there. And you can find out my why. It just kind of tells my story of growing up in foster care and living in group homes and kind of being forgotten and how fitness saved my life. And then at the end, I really get into talking about, you know, kind of what we're talking about now is how there's kids in the system that could really benefit from having a mentor, and why I feel like I'm the qualified one to fix that and to help there. And I'm just, dude, I'm so pumped about it. It's such a, it's not an experiment for me. It's what I want to do with the rest of my life. I'm still going to train clients. I love being a trainer, in case you haven't picked up on it for the last 40 minutes.
Right.
But I mean, there's kids out there that are hurting and I want to help, bro.
That video is incredibly inspiring. We'll put it, I mean, this will be on YouTube. We'll have the link on there as well.
And shout out to Devin Collado for putting that together for me. We actually, what you don't know is that we recorded like 17 hours worth of footage. And I think I mentioned this to you, and I gave him the tough job of trying to, and I said this to you in the hallway, of make a video explaining my why, because people will connect to that more than just a QR code, but not making it like a trauma dump. And so we went back to my hometown. I got asked to give a speech to a high school class. I got, you know, I reconnected with Josh, which is in the video that you saw. But I also reconnected with my high school football coach. I reconnected with my favorite teacher growing up, who just donated a good amount of money. And it's just been really, it was a really cool thing, but there's so much more footage to come. And I'm so excited to have people, you know, following this journey and essentially be founding members and help get this thing up. And they're not just going to be changing these kids' lives. They're going to be people that donate and help me get this program started are going to be changing every generation of those kids that come after. Because if you help one kid, that affects generation after generation. If you could stop one kid from going down the path of homelessness, addiction, incarceration, that changes not just that kid's life, but every generation that comes after them. And there's thousands of kids I know I can help, man.
I love that. I love the passion. I love
I'm
it.
pumped. I'm so stoked.
Whether, you know, from a fitness side of things, just to be able to give back in that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's the only way to be.
Yeah, I'm all in, man.
As we say here, no half dicking.
No half dicking, babe. We're gonna do this, and it's gonna be awesome.
Hell yeah. I love that. Like you said, you've got Jesse's Instagram. If you have any questions for us, you know, you guys can always reach out to @BigNightFitness. Or my own @ConnorT.Murphy. Send us a message. We can connect and we can give you as much or as little information as you want on it and going down that route. I feel like we could sit here for hours and hours talking about it. But,
yeah,
you know, kind of like last thoughts here. I first want to say thank you so much for coming on. And I think your story is incredibly inspiring, and people can not just find motivation, but kind of see a side of things that isn't really highlighted. See something that's a major issue in a broken system, and hopefully start to turn the tide on that.
Yeah, and going back to one more time, just like one final thing is, if you care about homelessness, if you care about marginalized populations, if you care about racism, the LGBT community, all these populations are disproportionately represented in the foster care community. And if you care about, you know, substance abuse, you care about all the things we've been talking about for the last hour, then you care about foster kids, because they're statistically more likely to end up in those populations. There's another alarming statistic I saw the other day. It said that, you know, the population of kids that I want to work with are teenage boys, and that's because what happens is when people adopt and foster, they want little girls first, little boys, then they want teenage girls, and then it's teenage boys are the last to actually ever get help. And so that's why I really specifically want to work with that. But even like the girls, which I'm not going to be working with, I read a statistic the other day that said 65% of females being found human trafficked have spent some sort of time in the foster care system, and that 80% of people on death row right now have spent some sort of time in the foster care system. You're talking about the most marginalized populations in our society, and it's directly impacted by foster care. And if I want to get in there and help those kids before their life ends up that way, and we owe it to society. It's not just, you know, when a person's unable to take care of themselves, in a good society, the society steps in and helps, you know. And you know, I asked my mentor Josh about what made him want to do this, and he talked about post-Columbine, how everybody knew that these kids that were, you know, that ended up committing that, they were being bullied, they were outsiders in society, you know, and people, then after the fact, I always say, oh, somebody should have stepped in. Why didn't anybody do anything? And, you know, when certain populations of people are so marginalized, if you don't step in and help, society will pay the price later on. And I don't want to, and I want to get in there and just help these kids before, you know, before they end up as another statistic.
Yeah. And we'll, you know, down the road, I want to get you back on here and talk about like the progress of everything going on with Project F.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm not just wish you the best of luck, but I'm hoping to be a part of it and to continue to give back, because, you know, fitness is our passion. It's given us so much. And to be able to give that to someone, especially a group is what you say, so, you know, so marginalized and kind of like highlight the statistics is awesome. But again, brother, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for having me. You're the man, bro.
We appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, as you know, always feel free to reach out, drop a comment on YouTube. We'll always get back to you. But we'll catch up with you guys next week. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a great time. And keep killing it. I really, like I said, I look up to you. You're well known in the community. And thank you for having me. It means a lot.
Likewise, brother.
Thank
All
you.
right. See you guys.
Bye.